You're listening to The Alex Jones Show.
Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight, your host. We're going to be joined in the next segment, Paul Joseph Watson from the UK. We're going to cover some of his breaking articles that have come out yesterday and today. As I was saying in just the last segment, this is all about informed consent. We're going to be joined in the third hour with Dr. Dunn from junkscience.com. It's the organization that has been at the forefront of exposing, I believe, some really hideous EPA human testing that raises huge ethical considerations. And fundamentally, this is an ethical consideration when we're talking about consent. And it's not just about vaccines. It's about what's going into your food. Are we going to apply market pressure to get them to clean up our food, to take out preservatives that are not allowed anywhere else in the rest of the world, yet they're putting it in our food? Even when we find some of these things and bring it to their attention, Pepsi, I believe there was something that was brought to their attention. They didn't take it out. They were only putting it in America, but they refused to take it out. Coke did, but Pepsi left it in. This is what we're talking about. It's violating our consent, misinforming us in a number of ways. They appeal to authority. They appeal to credentials. Let me give you an example of this. There was a man, Samuel Pierpont Langley. Now, of course, he taught at Harvard. He taught at the Naval Academy. He was secretary of the Smithsonian. This guy has a lot of credentials. On the other hand, we've got a couple of guys, Orville and Wilbur Wright, the Wright brothers. These are a couple of guys who are just homeschoolers and entrepreneurs. These guys dropped out of school, one of them to start a printing business. They then they got into a bicycle business. Now, who would you think would make the first working airplane? The homeschoolers who dropped out, just making bicycles in their garage? Or this guy, Samuel Pierpont Langley, Harvard, Naval Academy, Smithsonian? Well, of course, we all know the Wright brothers did. Why? Because they challenged the tables that had false information in them. They had coefficients of lift and drag that had been put in that, of course, the academic Pierpont Langley just went with. He wouldn't question the conventional wisdom. But these two guys who were homeschooled, who were entrepreneurs, who are the very type of people that I was just talking about in the last segment that Wired Magazine commentator was wringing their hands over the fact that Silicon Valley entrepreneurs are realizing that, hey, I can do a much better job educating my own kids. These kids went back and said, you know, maybe the information that we're starting with is not correct. They went back, they created their own coefficient of drag tables, and they got their airplane to work. So you should always question when you're being given something and appeal just to authority or to credentials. I've been through college. I'm not impressed with credentials. I always do my own research. You should do your own research. You have the capability of doing your own research. And if something happens to your family, you're ultimately responsible. Whether you got the vaccine or whether you didn't get the vaccine is something that you need to look at. You need to look at the information, and you need to decide whether you're going to do that or not. And we need to have the freedom and the respect in our government and in our society for people to make those kinds of decisions. And yet we see, again, another article from the Wall Street Journal saying, hey, doctors need to be presumptive. In other words, they need to browbeat the parents. And they found that if they really browbeat the parents at the schools, if the pediatricians do it, then they can get a very high compliance rate. But they still have that 1 out of 10, that 1 out of 12 that says, no, I've done my research, I'm not going to do that. So what's the answer to that? We're going to do it by force. If we can't convince you, if we can't lie to you, we're going to do it by force. They say, hey, we've got to counter. This is a quote from the Wall Street Journal. Pediatricians need to step up their game to counter a spigot of unscientific anti-vaccine material distributed over the internet. Hey, we've looked at the history of this. We know what happened 40 years ago. We know what you're putting in the vaccines. It's not simply a vaccine. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Paul Joseph Watson.
The government's Department of Homeland Security is buying up loads of ammo. At the same time, they're restricting civilians' rights to own and purchase firearms. Can you put two and two together? Infidel Body Armor can stop every round, including hollow points and .308 sniper rounds, is reasonably priced and fully legal. But for how long? Go to InfidelBodyArmor.com, spelled INFIDEL bodyarmor.com. Infidel Body Armor. Just won't quit.
When cells become toxic, they die early and aging sets in. No one has put together a formula that focuses directly on brain health, nerve growth factors, and optimizing your cellular energy at the same time. Just one of the key compounds, BioPQQ, is backed by major clinical studies. You want the best that's out there at the lowest price anywhere? We now have the synergistic solution. Secure your DNA Force today at InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139. In the near future.
When you realize how fake it all is, the football, the basketball.
Alert. Security alert. This is Homeland Security. Analysis. InfoWars building independent media
We
operations.
let the worst people get control and tell us that we are the ones responsible.
Prime directive. Discredit Alex Jones.
Jones is the wildly popular conspiracy theorist.
A popular conspiracy theory talk show called InfoWars.
Alex Jones is now in an Austin jail.
These people are assaulting us.
Targeting of patriots engaged.
They are never going to stop. They're never going to deviate from their program until we stop them.
Block free iPhone app at InfoWars.com. Block free podcast and video feed. Imperative. Destroy Prison Planet TV.
You gotta set your eye on the enemy, not worry about what propaganda they put out. Intellectually, it's begun. You can feel it.
For all of recorded history, civilizations around the world praised the health benefits of silver. At InfoWars Life, our mission is to bring you the highest quality, purest, cleanest, effective colloidal silver on the market today for the lowest price available. You don't have to be a doctor to know. The fall and winter months are the most dangerous time of year in North America when it comes to you and your family's health. InfoWarsLife.com is very excited to announce our biggest run yet of Silver Bullet colloidal silver, exclusively available at InfoWarsLife.com. Now, InfoWarsLife.com has taken colloidal silver to the next level using a cutting-edge technique that is free of toxic artificial additives. Now more than ever, it's important to stock up on high-quality Silver Bullet from InfoWarsLife.com. No survival chest is complete without Silver Bullet. Secure your Silver Bullet today at InfoWarsLife.com or by calling toll-free 888-253-3139. Silver Bullet.
He's the T-Rex of political talk. Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network.
Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight, your host today. Joining me in this segment is Paul Joseph Watson from the UK. Now, in the last hour, I didn't plug. We have several specials at the InfoWarsLife.com store. One of those right now involves an introductory special of Ancient Defense. That's our new herbal immunity formula. If you buy 2 Survival Shield Nascent Iodine, you get 1 bottle of Ancient Defense Herbal Immunity for free. That's a $20 savings, and you'll find that on InfoWarsLife.com. Now, joining us from the UK is Paul Joseph Watson. Paul, there's a story that we talked about a little bit yesterday. You've got a full article up on it today about Samsung talking about how they're going to turn over your conversations to third parties. That's kind of left open-ended. But again, it kind of ties in what we've been talking about all day, and that is consent. Sometimes they put the consent in the fine print, and you just click a little box there, and they start sharing your information. We've seen this happen with iPhone apps, with computer programs, but especially with phone apps. Now they're doing it with your television set. And, of course, just so that you can have the convenience of voice recognition. Presumably it works. I don't even know if it works, but they are listening and grabbing your information and sharing it with other people.
Well, yeah, David. I mean, the road to serfdom is paved with convenience. And there's been an update on this Samsung story today, which is odd, you know, because we first reported this 3 months ago in November. It was also reported by Salon.com. Their writer said he was terrified of his TV at the time. But why has it taken 3 months for this now to become a viral story? It's basically the top news story across a ton of different mainstream media websites today. And it stems from Samsung's global privacy policy, which states, please be aware that if your spoken words include personal or other sensitive information, that information will be among the data captured and transmitted to a third party through your use of voice recognition. So they're basically admitting that the voice recognition program, which people use to download content over the internet to their televisions, is being sent to a third party, including potentially their private conversations. So this came out in November. A few people challenged it back then. Samsung didn't respond. It's only now that it's gone big, it's gone viral, that the company has been forced to respond, and they said that they admitted that if consumers gave permission for the voice recognition feature to be activated, their words would be, quote, sent to a server which searches for the requested content, then returns the desired content to the TV. So not only their words in terms of requesting what program they want on their television, but all private conversations that you have in your living room if you own a Samsung TV and have activated this option, which is basically the reason why people buy these smart TVs in the first place, is being uploaded to the internet. So again, it's another massive privacy scandal. And we've seen it with other companies that have basically got no press attention when they're doing the same thing. Microsoft Kinect. 2 years ago, gamers complained that Microsoft Kinect was monitoring their Skype calls and then banning their uploaded videos of themselves playing video games because they used obscenity in the video uploads. But then Microsoft Kinect users complained that they had not even uploaded any videos, and yet they were getting account bans for using obscenities both within video games and Skype calls, suggesting that Microsoft was actually recording and listening to Skype conversations, private Skype conversations for obscenities. And as we mentioned yesterday, people who play, for example, football management simulation games who shouted out obscenity swear words during the game also had account bans placed on them. So this is not just Samsung, this is a ton of different companies. And this is the danger of the Internet of Things, where every device in your household is connected to the internet, potentially acting as a surveillance bug, as former CIA Director General David Petraeus hailed back in that Wired magazine article a few years ago.
Oh, yeah, this has been going on for a very long time. You pointed out that in this particular case, in the case of the Samsung TV, we reported on that back in November, and yet we know this is happening with computer monitors, that the NSA can put something on your computer to listen to and monitor what you're doing. That's all been revealed with Snowden. But Alex was talking about that. You were talking about that well before we got the revelations from the Snowden document leaks. This is something that is pervasive. And as Petraeus was bragging about it and saying, we're going to listen to you through your appliances, through your dishwasher or whatever with this Internet of Things. Paul, what concerns me so much is that this Internet of Things is being extended to transportation. And we should all remember that the very first DARPA contest that was put out there, even before they started a robotics contest, we all saw the Atlas robot and these other robots last year. Well before that, 10 years ago, their very first DARPA competition was a self-driving car. It was the U.S. military, Eisenhower, who wanted to put in an interstate system, primarily so that it could be used by the military whenever they had a need to. And it was Eisenhower who saw the Autobahn in Germany that wanted to replicate it here, primarily for military purposes, because it's very important for them to have control over transportation as a chokehold. And that's something that really concerns me, is the loss of the ability to anonymously travel without the government watching everywhere that you go, but also the danger that it exposes us to if somebody hacks into these self-driving cars, or actually we should say that they are computer-controlled and government-driven, because that's what's going to happen. They're going to limit where, when, and how you can drive. And the goal, as Google and Uber and many of these people have said, the goal is just to take away private ownership of cars. So that's the next thing. It's not just watching you, but it is controlling where you're even able to go.
Yeah, and we had the article